Celebrating 42 seasons on the air, Farmweek is a production of Mississippi State University Extension. Today on Farm Week, happy Thanksgiving. Where does all that food come from? It's Back to the Farm, Part 1, a story of a family that left the city for life in the country.
If you were eating pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving weekend, it might have come from Morton, Illinois, the pumpkin capital of the world.
And if you're decorating for the holidays, this might put you in an ornamental mood.
And back to the farm, the conclusion. How is our city family doing in the country? Farm Week starts right now. Hello everyone, I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Mike Russell. Thanks for joining us today on this Thanksgiving weekend for a special feature edition of Farm Week. As we told you earlier in the year, the trends in farming are undeniable. Farm income down, the number of farms down dramatically in recent years. It's inescapable. Original farm owners are older. Far fewer people are living on farms than a century ago. So who's to take over as farmers look ahead into their sunset years? Today, a story of revival, at least for one family in Kansas. While some have left, others are returning, a conduit from the past to the future.
Across the rural landscape of the United States, the number of people making small towns their home has been shrinking in recent years. An aging population, along with technological advances in agriculture, have contributed to the decline of the family farm as we know it. According to the USDA, the average age of a U.S. farmer is 68. Many of those who have spent a lifetime working the land are retiring without anyone in place to step up and fill the void. On a sprawling farm in central Kansas, one family is working to buck that trend, trading in a comfortable urban life for a rural one that promises hard work, long days, and a chance to grow a life steeped in long-standing traditions. Joni Embry Minders grew up outside a small rural town in central Kansas, where her family has been farming for 3 generations. After graduating high school in 1997, Joni set her sights on a life closer to the city. After earning a dental hygienist degree, she spent the better part of 2 decades working and raising 3 children with her husband Zach in Des Moines, Iowa. Visits back to the farm brought on a sense of fondness for rural life and the many lessons she learned as a child.
We both have farming backgrounds, and we have always wanted to raise our kids in the same environment that we were raised.
During trips back home, the future of the farm became a frequent conversation. Embry Minders' grandfather, John Young, is 88 years old. Her Uncle Greg and Father Alan are closer to retirement age, and the next generation to run the farm was nowhere in sight.
When we went back for Christmas this last year, my grandpa said, it's time for somebody to come in and help, and it's got to be you.
Embry Minders is now embarking on a journey to work alongside her grandfather, her father, and her uncle. The trip home goes beyond helping the generation that came before. It's also about training the next generation that she brings with her. Embry Minders' son, Colby, has always shown a strong interest in farming. Her plan is to be the conduit for his future on the farm.
That's my happy place down there, and it's really cool because, you know, we're going to be around family that we haven't been around lately. I just kind of expect that we're gonna get this done, and we're gonna be happy down there.
That's on the guides on the sickle.
When Joni's grandfather started farming 60 years ago, the home place was a mere fraction of what it is today. The farm is now a mixed crop and livestock operation with around 150 head of cattle and roughly 3,000 acres of row crops.
I had a really burning desire to farm, but I didn't have much of a start there. The equipment back in that time, this was after World War II, was old and decrepit, and the finances were about the same way. It was very difficult for a poor boy that didn't have any money to buy land, and the competition to rent ground, as it always is, was very intense. So it was a slow process to put it together.
That slow process would involve the help of Young's two sons, Alan and Greg, who have worked with their dad as partners since the operation was put into a trust just over 2 decades ago. Coming back to the farm has presented a long list of challenges. Both Joni and Zach are leaving successful careers in Des Moines, and their children are being uprooted from an established routine.
Them making that decision helped us make that decision to move forward. So, and this, like Joni said before, it's really for the kids. So if that opportunity is what they want to be able to do, which Colby, that's his main focus. So if that's what they want to do, at least that opportunity is there for them when they get older.
So what do you think them are, about 7/16?
Once on the farm, the couple faces a steep learning curve, catching up on how farming has changed in recent years.
It's definitely overwhelming. Just thinking about the fact that I have to learn to do what my grandpa does, who's been doing it for his entire life, is scary.
A little bit different. You're talking, it's been, pushing almost 17 to 18 years since I was actually working on a farm. So it's been a while. So there's a lot of things you got to remember, and sometimes it's the simplest things you got to remember you don't remember. So, but it's coming back, and it's an enjoyable process.
This life-changing journey for the Minders is grounded in values taught through a rural upbringing.
All I can do is to give them an opportunity. I can't guarantee their success, so it'll be up to them. And you have to like this business, or be crazy, one or the other. But if you like it, you're going to make that last trip to take care of livestock at night and the first one in the morning. And you're going to stay out there to harvest the crop when the lightning's flashing, and it might rain and ruin the crop that night. And all those things go with it.
The future for the young farmers involves building on that base to create a place for their children, as well as keeping the family operation alive.
There's the kids, but then there's my grandpa and that whole aspect, and that's why we're going back too, is so that we can hopefully make it continue to be everything that he built and wanted it to be.
That was John Torpy reporting. Now later in the show, we'll see how that family is doing after their move to the country. Spoiler alert, it is a happy ending to the story. In the meantime, it is a big time of the year for pumpkins, and you may be surprised to know that virtually all of the worldwide demand for pumpkin filling is met by a small farming community in Illinois. Here's Josh Bittner with that story.
Since returning to central Illinois during the farm crisis of the 1980s, John Ackerman has raised various commodities, specialty crops, and animals to keep his multi-generational operation afloat. But embracing his hometown's unique flavor is what's truly entwined his family name into local roots.
We've got 32 acres this year of hand-picked ornamental pumpkins, gourds, and squash. And we raise over 160 different varieties, too. We have red pumpkins, we have white pumpkins, we actually have blue pumpkins out here. This one is a red warty thing. That is honestly the name they gave this one.
Despite persistent regional rains threatening some grain and oilseed viability this year, Ackerman says the Morton, Illinois area has seen a bumper crop of pumpkins over the past 5 or 6 years.
We actually grow thousands of these every year. These come in all different shapes and colors. People decorate with these all the time.
And so once again, iconic Ackerman Family Farms is serving up a vast array of seasonal gourds and squash with a dash of farm life.
And when we give field trips, we try to let them interact with the animals. We allow them to feel the feathers on a chicken, the fur on a bunny, the fiber on an alpaca, the wool on a sheep, the hair on a goat. We've learned that not only are we selling a product, we're selling produce out here, but we're selling experience too.
Commercial pumpkin patches are a classic set piece of harvest time Americana. And though Morton, Illinois has earned the nickname Pumpkin Capital of the World, it isn't the traditional jack-o'-lantern style that's globetrotting.
Got to give them a lot of credit. When they took that old wonderful Dickinson pie pumpkin, that was grown in Kentucky 100 years ago, they developed that seed and they improved on that pumpkin, and they did so by paying attention to taste and texture.
Ackerman began his career in pumpkinry by contracting with a local processor, Libby's, which cans pumpkin pie filler. Their Morton factory has been in operation since the late 1920s. And officials with multinational parent corporation Nestle say 85% of worldwide canned pumpkin supply comes from within a 50-mile radius of the town, going from vine to vessel in less than 6 hours. Shelf supply surges annually during the traditional harvest to holidays baking season.
It is a different view to see acres and acres of pumpkins rolled into rows ready to be harvested.
John Ackerman's cousin Jim is agriculture manager for Nestle USA in Morton. He says roughly 20,000 vicinity acres are in production during any given year, adding another layer of beneficial crop rotation outside corn and soybeans.
This is a little sweeter and a little meatier, or puree is nicer. The jack-o'-lantern variety is for appearances. We're looking for a Brix factor or a sugar factor in these also that isn't in the ornamentals.
Despite shortfalls on crop protection elements and university-level studies into pumpkins, Jim Ackerman says there is no shortage of local contractors willing to work into the fold when approached.
Nestle's Libby's has been around for a lot of years, and hopefully we've treated the growers well. They keep coming back.
According to USDA, in 2017, domestic pumpkin yields averaged over 22,000 pounds per acre. The land of Lincoln led the pack, trouncing second-place California by over 472 million pounds in total production. Locals say that's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Jeff Griffin heads up the Peoria Area Chamber of Commerce. Morton falls within the nearby city's metro area, and Griffin is quick to point out the economic benefits the specialty crop brings to the local economy.
The land is right for it here. The pumpkin industry in Illinois is a $12 million annual industry. Large employers locally, such as Nestle, Libby's, and Seneca Farms, in addition to all the smaller farms that contribute to the pumpkin production, and the tourism and the fun stuff that goes along with harvesting pumpkins.
For John Ackerman, the diversity pumpkins provide are a welcome respite from the volatility of more common row crops. And whether it's working with processors to fill store shelves or raising ornamentals on his own, he's always excited by the spirit fall harvest ushers into the area.
We have the best demographics here. We get grandparents and families and cooks and gardeners and animal lovers, and I have really come to appreciate that in a retail business, we have the best kind of customers there are.
All right, you guys are all set. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Bittner.
We do have to work in a little gardening just to work off the turkey, if nothing else. An ornamental grass produces a heavenly cloud of color even this time of year. You might even want to decorate for the holidays with it. Here's horticulturist Gary Bachman with the story of Gulf Muley grass.
Gulf muley grass is a native plant that's really showy in the fall and winter months. Let's take a look at why I love these plants. Today's Southern Gardening is at Truck Crops Branch Station in Crystal Springs, where they may have the best looking Gulf muley grass I have ever seen. The botanical name of Gulf muley grass is Muhlenbergia capillaris. This grass is so good it was chosen as a Mississippi Medallion native plant winner in 2010. In the fall, this native grass produces billowy masses called inflorescences, which resemble pink clouds in the landscape. There's also a white selection called white cloud, and it is. The sun rising backlights the inflorescences and they seem to glow in the rich morning light. Select a landscape site that receives at least 6 hours of full sun during the day. Spacing needs to be considered as these plants need their individual space. Each plant can grow up to 4 feet wide, so plant on 3-foot centers. This will achieve that fill-in mass look. Like all ornamental grasses, there is really only one maintenance chore that can't be neglected. In late winter, cut the grass clumps back to 6 inches. This will clear the way for the new foliage and result in a nicely formed clump. Don't be tempted to cut back any earlier because you remove the dry inflorescence that creates movement with the wind and habitat for wildlife. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, they made a move to the farm, leaving city jobs behind, in search of a different kind of life, helping out family in the process. Their children made the move with them, of course, all of them taking a leap of faith. So how did it work out, especially in this time of trade wars, tariffs, and farm equipment that doesn't always cooperate? The answer to those questions and more coming up. Don't go away.
ATVs are a ton of fun for people of all ages, but these powerful machines can also be a ton of trouble if safety guidelines aren't followed. Never carry more than one person on a single ride or four-wheeler. The four-wheeler can become unstable and very dangerous. ATVs are designed for off-road use only. Never drive one on a highway or any other paved surface, and always ride the right size machine at the right speed. This message brought to you by MSU Extension 4-H.
Before the final feature story of our Thanksgiving show, let's take a look at the Farm Week calendar. First, the MSU Row Crop Short Course, December 3rd through the 5th at the Cotton Mill Conference Center in Starkville. This conference is packed with presentations on entomology, plant pathology, ag economics, and more. Registration is free before November 27th, and it includes all meals, snacks, and drinks. Full information online at extension.msstate.edu or call Kathy Johnson at 662-325-2701. Next, and you have plenty of time to register, let's go to New Orleans for CattleCon 19, January 30th through February 1st. This is the cattle industry convention and trade show brought to you by the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. More than 9,000 cattlemen and women will gather in the Crescent City. This one will be one of the largest on record. 3.5 days of education, fellowship, networking, and fun. For more information about CattleCon 19, visit online at beefusa.org. Now, check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Now, the conclusion of our story from earlier in the show, a family moving to the farm instead of the other way around. They are answering the demands of the marketplace, and it's all in a day's work for those on the front lines raising food for 8 billion people on the planet. Joni Embry-Minders and her husband, Zach, are a couple in this fight, and they made the journey from city to country, meeting the challenge head on. Once again, here's John Torpy.
Earlier this year, Joni Embry-Minders returned to the place which she called home nearly 2 decades ago. At the request of her grandfather, John Young, Embry-Minders brought her family back to the farm in Burton, Kansas, and got right to work, hitting the ground running with a big smile on her face.
My heart is, this is home. And I'm surprised at how hard that hit me.
In mid-June of 2018, wheat harvest was underway when Joni, Zach, and their children moved back to the small Kansas town of 874. Young Farms endured its share of dealing with Murphy's Law as things that could go wrong did. Mechanical problems plagued the operation during harvest. A long summer drought slowed the growth of their dryland crops. When rain finally arrived, it fell until just days before the start of harvest. the storms delivered all of Burton's annual rainfall in just 30 days. Embry Minders took all the problems in stride and embraced the steep learning curve.
There's so much to learn. I've kind of put myself in a submersion program with everything I read, absolutely everything I possibly can, everything that Grandpa tells me to look at, or the guys that he listens to or reads their articles and things like that. I've tried to read everything I can get my hands on. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, but I figure if I just submerge myself in the information, at some point I'll have a conversation with somebody that's going to make it all click. Copy machine, and I thought that some of
Embry Minders continues to tap her grandfather's knowledge base. She relies on his years of experience to help navigate issues both on and off the farm.
When I started this procedure the first of the year, I didn't know we were going to become involved in a trade war, which is making it more difficult. There's going to be problems, you know, in any business. So I think that I'm continuing to try to transfer anything that I might have learned in my entire life to her, and she's very receptive. She's just very enthused about the entire thing, which I'm happy about.
I've got a lot of personal drive, and my whys are huge for this operation, and so it makes it fun and easy. I'm interested. I want to learn more. Do you want another photo?
Joni and Zach Minders' drive to move back to the farm was fueled by a longing for their children to have the same chances they had growing up. Lucy and Colby have settled into the Burton Unified School District, which has a smaller student body than the one they were used to in Des Moines, Iowa. The kids are learning a smaller student body creates countless opportunities.
If someone comes in, everyone's accepted here because, I mean, it's just such a small school that everyone knows everyone. I think that when somebody comes, then they're like, hey, and they just welcome.
Kids here, well, first of all, they're not going to fall through the cracks. We're going to know all, we're going to know all about them very quickly. And yeah, kids in Burton, you're standing upright, can take a good breath, can play basketball, football, volleyball, run cross country, be the president of their class, be part of the K Club, the Kansas Association for Youth. You can do FCCLA, 4A, you name it. A lot of opportunity for kids here.
Dwindling populations are a common thread across rural America. Younger generations are leaving the farm to seek new prospects in larger population centers. Coupled with advancements in farm technology, the number of family-owned farms are becoming few and far between on the rural landscape.
What's going to happen to all these farmsteads? Because people aren't moving out here. They're moving into town or leaving and not coming back. What's going to happen to all this out here?
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Burton, Kansas has lost 6% of its population since 2000, making Joni's journey back to the family farm a unique move in rural America.
It's been nice because I don't get welcome home or welcome to Kansas or anything like that. What I get is, we are so glad you're here. The fact that we're coming back to continue something that's been set for a long time is, I think, appreciated in the community.
For Embry Minders, every day is a good one. Despite any hurdles the day may bring, she notes that with every sunset, she has no regrets about her family's move to rural America.
This is a faith journey, 100%. I've prayed about this more than I have prayed about anything in my whole life. And I can tell you that there is no question in my mind that things are not going to work out. I think that it's not going to be easy. And there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be stumbling blocks, there's going to be people that let you down, there's going to be all of that. And it's all going to be okay.
Well, then we need to put the new sweep in.
I'll call Dad. I am closer to my grandpa now than I have been my whole life. And he's an amazing man. And I'm really honored to get to learn from him in this setting.
For Market to Market, I'm John Torpy.
How can you watch that these days and not be moved?
Truly, truly inspiring for sure, especially when these days most people are leaving farms, not moving to them. Next week, another inspiring story, especially this time of year when Americans consume so much food, yet so many have trouble putting that food on the table.
It's called City Harvest, a big city group that stands in the breach between the kitchen and the trash can. 1 million pounds of food every week recovered so that 1.5 million New Yorkers don't have to go without. That is next time on Farm Week.
Remember, if you miss a story, look for the past episodes of Farm Week at our website, farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching, and please have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.